Here are some more aliens exist conspiracy theories. Let's check them out.
Our government has been working with aliens all this time. There is a conspiracy theory called the Serpo Alien Exchange Program that suggests that the elites have been in contact with the aliens for a really long time. Well, you see, according to this theory, in the 1940s, a UFO crash in New Mexico led to the government recovering a living extraterrestrial that came from the planet Serpo, located in the Zeta Reticuli star system, some 39 light-years away. This extraterrestrial, known as the Ebens, started facilitating contact between Earth and Serpo, teaching humans about their technology, including their light-speed propulsion technology. Basing themselves in New Mexico, a place where the UFO sightings might not just be a hoax anymore. It was also alleged that 12 humans were actually sent to live in Serpo among the Ebens for decades, and while the actual purpose of it is still unknown, the question we should be asking is how much more do we not know if we didn't know that?
Can you imagine that? It sounds almost like a movie, you know what I mean? But can you imagine that? We, somehow we get one of theirs, whether it be a crash here or it lands here, we hold it captive, some kind of way. And then we figure out a way for it to coordinate communication between us and them, his home, wherever he's from, his home. And then some kind of way we figure out a way to learn everything it's high-tech technology, all of this type of things that we don't have. That gives it its capability. Sounds like a movie, don't it? But the fact that we don't know if it's true means it could be a possibility. Now, Bob Lazar always talks about the aircraft the ones that we have, and that we're trying to reverse engineer. So when you couple that with possibly having one of them in captivity, I'm just saying, it may not be too far-fetched.
You have mentioned that there's interdimensional potential. Could you expound on that?
And then in terms of multidimensionality, that kind of thing, the framework that I'm familiar with, for example, is something called the holographic principle. It derives itself from general relativity and quantum mechanics, and that is, if you want to imagine a 3D object such as yourself casting a shadow onto a 2D surface, that's the holographic principle. So you can be projected, quasi-projected from higher dimensional space to lower dimensional. It's a scientific trope that you can actually cross, literally, as far as I understand, but there's probably guys with PhDs that we could probably argue about that.
But you have not seen any documentation that that's what's occurring?
Only a theoretical framework discussion. Yes.
Okay.
Listen, man. Protect David Grusch. Please, man. Protect him. Every time I hear him speak, every time I see one of his clips, like, protect this guy. Not only is he displaying the bravery to step up and speak out, you know what I mean? Protect that man. We need more from him, though. I need an update. What's going on now? Where are we? Were they able to provide him a safe space and do it the right way? I know he was asking for, I think, a skiff to be able to speak to them in a right setting, legally. So I'm hoping that that's where they are now. They're getting everything needed to where he can get in the right space to give more information. And I hope more people have come forth. But that all depends on our government to see if they provide them a safe space, because we've all seen what's been happening and what's been put out about David Grusch.
If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
Alright, so at the beginning they're talking about the lady seeing something or asking if it's in the tractor or the forklift. I believe it's inside the tractor, you can see two dark shadows with glowy eyes. I'm gonna put it in black and white. Maybe that will help a little bit. Give me 1 second. Right there. You can see right in the center, you can see two dark shadows sitting.
Oh, okay,
this one is
okay.
gonna blink in a second. You'll see it right there. He blinked. They're both sitting there. They move, but ever so slightly. You can't really notice. And they're just sitting there. I'm not saying they're aliens. I'm not saying that this is a true video, but that is kind of shady. I'm gonna put a picture here with a silhouette in red so that you can see what I'm looking at. Let me know what you think in the comments.
That's a pretty good video for the most part. It took me a second to see it, man. You know, you got to sift through all the craziness. That's why I tell you all the time, make your own assumption. You don't know what person is trying to give you some edited video, what some person is trying to give you CGI, what some person is trying to do to manipulate you into thinking or just wanting the plane go viral. So you gotta look into this stuff right here, man. So from the little bit that we got though in this one, it's pretty interesting though. I don't know, man. It's a lot of stuff going on, bro. And in this world is crazy between hauntings, paranormal sightings, UFOs, aliens, everything. And you're gonna just sit here and tell me everything is fake? I don't buy it, bro. I don't buy it. Some people ain't just gonna waste their time and just put out some nonsense. Sorry. This looks interesting. I don't know if it's real or not, but this looks pretty interesting. I would definitely, if I was him, follow up on that, try to see what's going on, keep an eye out.
There's at least 70 different species, and probably more. That's not the ones we usually see, though. We see the little gray ones. They're about 4.5 feet tall. And we see the ones that are called the Nordics. They're about 7 feet tall, look like us, but they're invariably blonde hair and blue-eyed. They're one of the species that we have on ice.
We recovered alien bodies from that incident. What'd they do with them?
They autopsied them. The reason they had to create an electromagnetic facility is the fact that the EBEs are so advanced. They have special environment, special air. It's my understanding they can only last about 20 minutes in this air. I think we made a deal with them, and their ultimate, what they want to do is regenerate their own race. Now, apparently, they've either had some kind of nuclear accident, or they're on the backside of a evolutionary genetic curve, and they're going downhill instead of uphill. In other words, in the autopsies, of which I have 2, we found out that their digestive system is atrophied. They can't eat through their mouth anymore. You know how they eat? Well, these cattle mutilations, they take the hormones and the enzymes from those cattle and they spread it on their skin, and their skin absorbs the nutrients and then excretes the waste back through their skin. And if you read Whitley Strieber's book or listen to him talk, he talks about when he's seen them doing this to their skin, and they're scraping the waste off.
Now, these cattle mutilations, there's been a film made about that, and perhaps in a couple of minutes we can take a look at some excerpts of that.
Yeah, Strange Harvest was a good one, but another thing that happened here on March 4th, there was a documentary released on the best UFO photos that have been taken so far, including 1 minute and 38 seconds of videotape. Now, what happened is in November, this guy took these photos, took it into the TV station. They thought it was great, but nobody would believe it. So they spent 3 months checking the validity of the, authenticating the videotape and checking out the credibility of the witness. And when they had it all down, they put out this documentary, 30 minutes. I mean, it's ironclad. They're here.
So first things first, he started out talking about the different ones. Now, while we're sitting around and still arguing back and forth about whether or not they're real, whether or not all of this is fake, and what is this, they're way beyond us. When I speak about them, I'm talking about guys like him. They're way past trying to decide whether or not they're real or fake. They've already started determining different species. Think about that for a second. We're arguing real or fake. They're sitting here saying, it's different ones. They're real. There's different ones. You got 4 feet tall ones. You got 7 feet tall ones. They're past what we're doing in the beginning stages. He went on even further to talk. Listen, in another video, I was just asking the question about, I wonder how they eat. How do they breathe? how do they, you know what I mean, do certain things? If we have some, that means we've been studying them. So we should possibly know, how do they eat? So to hear him say they don't eat like us, they do this thing where they rub it. I was asking about their skin in another video, and I was wondering, I was like, is it slimy? What do they do with their skin? How do they, what is it? And he just said they rub the stuff. That's how they eat. Different. Very, very different. And before you say, wow, that don't even make no sense. They probably look at us the same way. With us eating through our mouth, that's foreign to them. Interesting, man. Interesting. That's what I like. That's the thing for me. We're worried about real or fake, and they done started talking about 70 different species.
Proof of aliens' existence on Earth.
Oh, whoa. Standing right there. I'm trying to zoom in. Holy crap. What do you want?
I'm gonna say this, y'all better be careful with some of these hand signs and gestures y'all making. Y'all don't even know that's putting y'all on the list. And I ain't talking about like gang stuff or anything like that. No, I'm talking about they may be putting you on the list for looking at you as a potential alien or something like that. When you see pictures and you see comparisons and hand signs and signals and stuff like that related to aliens, y'all better be careful. Go back and look through some of those photos. Are you holding up a peace sign or are you holding up something else? And then can you find an alien holding up a hand signal or something like that? They might be watching you. You think they watching you for something else? No, fam. They might be watching you because they not thinking you from here. I don't know. That was interesting when I saw that picture like that. It made me think, like, I wonder, have I? I probably have. I probably have before, myself included.
All of these different machines come from one particular group of entities?
Yeah, they think maybe it's more than one answer. The craft look different, the beings look different, the reports you get from all over the world over the decades. We don't really know for sure what they do look like because they seem to be able to change their shapes, at least change how we perceive them in our head.
All I know for sure is UFOs are real. We have technology that we don't know where it's from. We have been reverse engineering or trying to do that. I am solid on those three things.
Has anyone come to you and described the different kinds of beings and how many they think there are?
There was a chapter in a textbook being used at the U.S. Air Force Academy. This is what they were teaching our best and brightest pilots at the Air Force Academy. And that chapter said, in the course of your career as an aviator, you're likely going to encounter one of these things. Here's what we know about them. We know that there are 4 different alien races visiting this planet, and they've been here for thousands of years.
Been here for thousands of years, bro. Thousands of years. Y'all call me crazy all you want to, man. But you have a guy, and I forget that guy's name because I've seen him on some of the news sites, and they go to him for this type of talk and this type of stuff. You know what I mean? He was at the David Grusch hearing with the other 2 guys. I cannot remember his name. And if I can pull back up to where he was on this video to show you which guy I'm speaking of, it's not him. It's the other guy. I think it's right up in here. Him. He was at the meeting. I don't know his name, but he's sitting here saying I'm solid on these 3 things. And when you have a guy like that, he's not gonna make that type of statement and jeopardize his credibility. He's not gonna do that. You know what I mean? Not for just a whimsical story. No. He's made it too far. He's too high up. He's done too many things. And credibility going out the window like that just off of something? No. But he's saying he's solid on those 3 things. Let that sink in. Think about that. Think about that.
The alien is actually real. Yes, you heard me right. We've all believed the xenomorph, commonly known as the alien, was just a movie. But what if I told you it's hiding here on Earth, right under our noses? In 2022, Dr. Michael Green, a famous space researcher from NASA, initiated a secret operation to an old, abandoned NASA research base. Upon arriving, he navigated the long abandoned halls and underground chambers of the facility. Days went by with only echoes of his own footsteps as a company. However, on the 6th day, in an isolated laboratory, his flashlight exposed the remains of a spaceship. As he ventured closer, a loud roar echoed down the hallway, and from the shadows, the unmistakable form of the alien emerged. Michael managed to start a live broadcast to a secret group at NASA, but the connection was suddenly cut off. Since then, no one has seen or heard from Michael, but one of his colleagues secretly leaked the recorded broadcast.
You gotta question if certain things like that are true. You know what I mean? Does it give us hope? Huh? Or does it say, if this were true, man, we'd be all in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. We'd be gone. I don't know. I don't know. Let me know what y'all think about that one.
The existence of UFOs and aliens just got confirmed today, and here's how. Yesterday, Congress announced a UFO hearing that's going down in history, and a lot was said. So let's talk about everything we now know about UFOs and aliens. So the person that had this meeting with Congress is David Grusch. He used to serve in the military and operated special forces, which means he has a lot of information about the government and what's really going on. So when he got to this Congress meeting, he got to swear under oath that everything he's saying is true. Then he exposed that the government does have UFOs and aliens.
If you believe we have crashed craft, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
Yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
Now the strange part is that Elon Musk claims that there are no signs of aliens.
If anyone would know about aliens on Earth, it would probably be me, and I've seen no evidence.
But David also exposed that people have been silenced in the past for trying to expose aliens.
People have been harmed or injured to cover up or conceal these extraterrestrial technologies.
Just the cockiness of Elon Musk, man. If anybody should know, it'd be me. Why? You're a billionaire, so what? Okay, cool. We know that. It's established. Good. Why would they bring you in? As much as you talk, as much as you don't walk to their beaten path, they don't feel like they can trust you. Have you seen your tweets? Have you seen your tweets? You're a loose cannon. Like, no, they're not gonna confide in you with that information. They know it will be out. No. I expect you not to know, of all people.
Technology.
Yes.
NASA hearing on UFOs and UAP.
It includes some recently declassified footage and trends for discussion. Next slide, please. So some of you probably saw a version of this at the open hearing last month. This is an overall review of all of the analytic trends of all the cases that we have to date. While the numbers may have changed a little bit, the overall trends remain the same. Most of what we are seeing reported by aircraft are at the altitudes where we fly aircraft. That should not be a surprise. You will note, however, that I have no space reports and I have no maritime reports. That is notable, even though we are looking across all of those domains. On the upper right, we have UAP morphologies. The vast majority of what has been reported and what we have data on, a little less than half now, are orbs, round spheres. And in the bottom right, you will see in the heat map of the areas where we get most of our reporting. This is very much a collection biased map. This is where our sensors are, our military, NRIC, and some of the FAA data. In the middle, which is what we call our typical UAP characteristics for the vast majority of the cases that we see. One way of looking at that is we'll call it a target package. This is the thing we are out hunting for in most cases. Next slide, please. This is an example of one that I showed at the hearing recently. This is a spherical orb, metallic, in the Middle East, 2022, by an MQ-9. I will come back to the sensor question that David raised here in a moment. This is a typical example of the thing that we see most of. We see these all over the world, and we see these in making very interesting apparent maneuvers. This one in particular, however, I would point out, demonstrated no enigmatic technical capabilities and was no threat to airborne safety. While we are still looking at it, I don't have any more data other than that. And so being able to come to some conclusion is going to take time until we can get better resolved data on similar objects that we can then do a larger analysis on. Next slide, please. I'm going to let this play through. This is a newly released video. You'll notice there are two dots moving back and forth. There is a plane at the bottom that's moving across the screen, and now there are three dots moving back and forth. The moving back and forth is from the sensor and the platform that's collecting it. This is a P3 on a training mission in the western United States. They picked these up and they tried to intercept and was unable to intercept them. Apart from that motion, and you'll see a little bit of defocusing from the sensor itself, there is no other oddity about this, except for the fact that they couldn't catch them. The reason they couldn't catch them is because after further analysis, it was shown that those objects were actually much farther away from the P3 than they thought. And in fact, when we went even deeper, looked at air traffic control data, we were able to match those to aircraft on a major flight corridor heading into a major airport for landing. This is the kind of thing that can spoof and or provide misperception of both very highly trained pilots as well as sensors, right? And this was reported as an odd grouping of 3 UAP. Right. That is not to say that the pilots didn't know what they were looking at, or they knew what they were looking at, but they weren't really sure. But it also is meant to say that when they're not sure, they're reporting it now, and that's what they're supposed to be doing. And then we have to go look at it. Next slide, please.
Why do I always feel like I can't never get a straight answer out of NASA? Now, they somewhat, through all of that, kind of confirmed the existence of UAPs, but not aliens. They're not going to speak about that. They're going to speak about, in a way, and pretty much find a different way to say the same thing everybody else has been saying. You know, we got to figure out what this is. We don't have enough data. We need more data. That's pretty much sums it up. I never look to them for anything pertaining to UAPs and stuff like that, because I don't feel like I'm going to get a straight answer. I feel like they're controlled, and they go along with what other ones on that side are saying. And it's like they're scripted. This is what we want y'all to say. This is what y'all can say. Y'all can figure out how y'all want to say it, but it needs to be along these lines. And they give them bullet points. That's it. That's it, man. That's how I feel about NASA. Sorry, that's true.
I've seen UFOs before, and I have kept this story off the internet for almost 10 years because I did not want to sound crazy. But now that we know that they are real and non-human beings are real, I'm going to share my story. This is part 1 of 2. Quick backstory. Me and my ex and 2 of our sons were on our way to go to an ice skating rink. This was in December of 2013. This happened in a city called Pittsburgh, California. You could look up Pittsburgh, Bay Point. They have a lot of alien stories, UFO stories, and sightings. We just left our house in this court and we're driving down this main street. We get to the stop sign. There's a brown old pickup truck and they just had their foot on the brake. They weren't moving. Both of their windows were down. I could see 2 men inside of the car and they just weren't driving. So we're like honking and, get out of the way. I'm going to turn it so you can kind of see where we would have seen the lights at. They would have been right up here. This is when it gets really confusing for me to explain because I can't fully grasp what I saw. I would like to say that the lights we saw were orange, but they were also red. They were also glowing bright like the sun. To this day, when I picture the lights in the sky, it makes me emotional. Like I can't even put my finger on it. These were some of the most beautiful lights that I've ever seen in my life. It makes me think of the Finding Nemo movie where they see the fish that's, the deep water fish, and they're like in a trance by it. I don't think that my human eyes were able to recognize the color of these lights. I don't think it was something that I could pick up. I grab my phone and I start putting my phone up to record them. My phone couldn't see them. I think we all remember the Las Vegas aliens, and they were talking about how you just couldn't see and the camera quality was so bad. And in so many of these videos, they talk about the camera quality. I don't think our phones can pick up what our eyes can pick up. It seemed like everything stopped. No dogs barking, no wind, nothing. I'm hysterical. I am like frantic and like, do you guys see this? My God, do you see this? I look over at my ex. He's legit sitting like this, not even looking at the lights. I don't even think that man blinked once. I look in the back seat to my kids. My kids were sitting completely still, facing the front of the car with tears running out of their eyes. My kids were sobbing, but they were completely frozen. We go from seeing one bright light that's pretty low to the ground.
First of all, I'm glad so many people are starting to feel comfortable with coming forward. Seriously. I feel like for so long, people just felt like if they come forward, someone's either going to happen to them, they were going to be perceived a certain way, they could lose their job, they could lose their families, their friends, things could start happening to them. It was just so many reasons. So for her to feel comfortable coming forward is a plus with everything that's going on. I don't care who you accredit to, David Grusch and them, whoever. It's just good to see people feeling comfortable to come forward and tell their story. The story she told, very, very interesting, man. What she saw, what it did to her, how she saw it, her eyes, what she got from it. You know what I mean? What it did to her boyfriend or her ex, her kids in the back seat, what was happening, what she noticed, all of that descriptive information she gave. Imagine how she lives her life now. Something in the sky may scare her to death. That's why I said they got to step in and tell us what's going on. That could stress someone out. Seriously, that could really stress someone out. I hope, people keep an eye on her and something don't happen for her putting that information out of there. She could have stumbled upon something. I don't know. Listen, man, this UFO stuff continues to be interesting. We're just going to keep going through things, stories, information, interviews, all these conspiracy theories. We're going to check them out. Y'all get at me in the comment section. Let me know what you thought. Till the next one, I'm gone.